King of Bay Street. I love that. You need to have a catchy title if you're going to be on the Dragon's Den.
Yeah,
But
you can't just go on there as Wes Hall. People are gonna be like, that's too boring. You gotta have a Mr. Something like a Mr. Sunshine or King of Bay Street, right? So there you go.
A little snippet of Wes Hall from Friday on the Elias Macko Show. Wes Hall, the newest member of the Dragon's Den. And look at that. We've got full Dragon's Den coverage as, of course, they're going to start production of Season 16 pretty soon. Vince Guzzo, of course, from the Dragon's Den and the CEO of Cinema Guzzo joins us on the line. Mr. Sunshine, welcome back.
How are you, Elias? Happy Orthodox Easter for yesterday.
Oh, you're so nice. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. And
You're welcome.
it was nice to crack some eggs with my mom very briefly in a short visit as well. Now, Mr. Guzzo.
Yeah.
You are known as Mr. Sunshine, and we had the King of Bay Street on with us Friday. And,
yeah.
He's joining the cast. What's the deal with season 16? When do you start shooting all that? And are you excited about the next season?
I'm very excited about the next season. And we start, I believe, the 22nd. So I'm going to be in Toronto as of the 20th, 2 days of testing. And then on the 22nd of May, we go up to the 8th of June. And we'll do 6 pitches a day, every day, 12-hour days. I do my own makeup. I don't want people touching me, So, it's a fun time. I mean, we're going to have fun. I really like Wes. We've had a few calls already together. I've already nicknamed him Mr. Dandy, right? Because he dresses a little more, how can I tell you, a little more colorful than I do. But, it's...
more than you, because you're already at the top, right, when it comes to the Dragon's Den, when it comes to fashion, right?
Well, for the men, yes. So, I think the guy who came the closest to having some fashion sense was Joe Mimram. Everybody else is pretty conservative, and in the case of Lane, I think he was more a T-shirt and jeans kind of guy, so he was always felt very uncomfortable in a blazer all the time. But, I think, each one of us has their own personality, but, Wes brings that twist, that Jamaican twist a little, I mean, he's Canadian, but he was born in Jamaica, and he's got that, I think he's got that fashion flair. So I've got some competition, so I've got to up my game, as they call it.
We're going to get into the entrepreneurs that you're going to see and why you choose to invest in the companies that you do. But I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up, because I saw you tweeting about it as well, Jim Treliving. He's been there from the start on Dragon's Den Canada, and he's leaving after 15 years on the program. What are your thoughts on Jim saying, "Okay, it's been 15 years, it's been great. I'm going back to my companies"?
Look, I was disappointed to hear he was leaving. Jim was, the guy who befriended me the quickest out of all the other dragons. He actually, him and I, look, you gotta remember, he's a little older than my dad. So when Jim and I talk, it's the same dynamic as my dad and I, and I work with my dad. So Jim and I had a lot of brick and mortar philosophies in common. We weren't necessarily the most tech-minded guys when it came to stuff. We had in common the mental health part of our philanthropy, and the message I put out there was that he had made me a better father and a better son, because he made me realize things, in the relationship with my father, because he wasn't my father, he wasn't as defensive sometimes, and so he made me a better person with my family in general. So I'm going to miss him, but we speak on a regular basis. I think he's a great guy, and I think he'll be hard to replace. And in fact, he isn't being replaced, right? I mean, this year we're going to be 5 dragons, 3 women and 2 men. So the future is female, clearly.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like to say that Wes is replacing Lane and not replacing Jim, because Jim is irreplaceable right now.
I got to tell you, the what you just told us, the vibe and the energy, it really did come across on camera on the show. So it's to hear your glowing words for Jim, that does not surprise me, based on what I saw on the screen over the last couple of seasons. Vince, let's talk about this 16th season that's starting and how you make the decisions. We're with Vince Guzzo, the CEO of Cinema Guzzo, and also on the Canadian version of the Dragon's Den. Let's talk about those decisions, Vince. When you're sitting there with your fellow Dragons and you get the pitch, what makes you say, "Yep, I want in"?
It's all about the person. It's all about the resilience. It's all about, you'd be surprised how many pitchers come there and will break down and cry, or they'll start shaking in front. And we can tell they're nervous, they're uneasy, but yet, some of them get through it without breaking and some of them don't. And so we're looking for resilience, and especially after the last 13 months of accumulated debt, of accumulated headaches, of bankruptcies, of people getting their, doors slammed in front of them, more than ever, we know that another COVID could come, whether it's 10 years, 100 years, whatever. So you want somebody who can be resilient. The other thing we need, and I think I mentioned to you this once already, is we also know that if you're on Dragon's Den, we're your last attempt to get some fresh money. It means, the love money of your friends and family's gone. The bank said no to you, and now we're there. So what are you looking for? If you're only looking for money, chances are you're not going to interest me. You're not going to motivate me to come in. Because if I'm going to invest money, I'm going to invest it with a professional who actually knows what he's doing. But if you're looking for my money, if you're looking for the mentorship, if you're looking to be part of a bigger team where I sometimes look at the person and say, okay, he's pitching this idea, but can I actually use this guy or this person in another partnership agreement that I have or deal that I have where the talent of this guy, so he can be, for example, run this T-shirt company, but could he also run a cap company, or could he also run a clothing brand that's just more than just a T-shirt kind of thing? And because of my various investments in various fields, I sometimes try and reference the expertise from various partnerships. And so I look at that as well. But at the end of the day, as I always like to say, a partnership is like a marriage. So if I'm going to get married financially or in a business deal with somebody, I'm not looking to get a divorce. So I'm looking to get somebody that I can enjoy working with, that I think is going to put his 110% behind it. I'm going to be there for them. And basically, he becomes part of the extended family that has become, the Guzzo investment portfolio. That's where I'm looking for.
Now, I know you mentioned the personality, and obviously that vibe is important, but I'm surprised you still haven't brought up the numbers, right? You need businesses that are also showing, hey, we know how to make money, right? So how does that play into your decisions?
Well, I tell you, most of the questions that we ask about or at least that I ask about the numbers, are more to try and see if you have the mindset to want to make money, because I can guarantee you that most of the guys, when they come, they don't have, most of them are startups. So they're not in a profitable situation. They're really in a burn rate situation. So my whole idea though is, has that person thought about, what an EBITDA is, what his gross margin is, what does he need to make, what's his break-even point, right? Mm-hmm. And ultimately, those are more a question of honesty test, because when I then go do a due diligence, I now know if you were just blowing hot air or you're telling me the truth, right? And you'll notice that the questions have progressed over the years, right? So I would tell you, for example, what's your revenue in 2008? When I did 2018 season 13, I would say, what's your revenue? And you would spit out a number. Now, or in season 15, I would say, what's your revenue for the last 12 months? Mm-hmm. And the reason for that is because I would get people who would say, I made $2 million. Oh, that's pretty impressive. Then when I go do the due diligence, I realize it's $2 million over 5 years. Mm-hmm. I wanted to know the last 12 months. And so I had to also get used to the questions that I ask, the drilling that we're doing, Sometimes you'll notice, we look like we're not going to do a deal because we're really drilling into the person. And then ultimately we do a deal. Because sometimes we're just trying to see the crack point of the person. How much abuse can the person take before they crack and tell us to go fly a kite? Because, the truth of the matter is, it's their love project. It's an investment for us. And when it's a love project, sometimes you've got, I always like to say, in the name of love, I've spent a lot of money that never... that I can't quantify back as a good investment, okay?
But I love this, Vince, because so much of what you said, you mentioned marriage and the partnership and how you got to push someone to see what they're made of. I love how the personality comes it's such a big part in your decisions. Vince, we got to leave it there, but that was awesome. That was really insightful.
Thank you very much.
That's Vince Guzzo, CEO of Cinema Guzzo, going to be headed to Toronto at the end of this month to film season 16 of Dragon's Den.